trying to make sure the existing warrants and the trial is strong, but making sure we don't neglect what's happening right today, and to make sure we can hopefully build strong cases to get to the truth, but also present it to judges if the evidence requires us to do so. And we are serious about that. We have resources, and that there's a clear timeline and strategy that's being put in place by myself and the deputy prosecutors and the Darfur team. The good news is, of course, there's a case that's sub judice, which is the Ali Kushaib case. We closed our case. That's the most efficient trial in the history of the ICC. Of course, the judges will decide, but I think it's in a very strong and resilient case. The defence case has started, and the expectation is, subject to what the judges decide, that there will be, God willing, inshallah, a decision this year in relation to Ali Kushaib. I told some of you in meetings in different groups, Darfuri Women's Association, and many of you, that the case in relation to President Bashir and Hussein and Haroon was not where I wanted it to be when I took over and I reviewed the evidence. I took a lot of steps together with my deputies in the office, because of the decision some years ago to hibernate it for a number of years, to make sure that those cases were in a state in which we can discharge our responsibilities, not only to apply for warrants, but to prove them. There's been significant developments, not only with Ali Kushaib, which I've said I'm confident about, and the judges will decide, but in relation to Haroon, and now that case is, I think the work that's been done is in a far better place in terms of making sure that, God willing, if that warrant is executed, the evidence is there that would allow the judges to properly decide matters. And we have a strategy in place that we've been quietly but persistently focused on, to make sure that the case regarding former President Omar Bashir and Hussein is what is required to make sure not only a case is before the court, but is one that is resilient enough and strong enough to withstand challenge in the courtroom. In relation to the events of April, of course, we have OTP Link, we've tried, and we not only engaging with the diaspora. There's been several longer-term missions by the office in Chad. Of course, there's a large community in Chad. There's been other outreach with other communities, diaspora in the region, and also trying to engage support from states that have access to information. And I think really today, what I really want to do is not talk too much, to hear from you, but whether it's in relation to Hussein and Bashir, whether it's in relation to the allegations or the events that have precipitated, particularly since April, we need your continued support, because I think it's remarkable. You haven't tired in this marathon that you've been running for justice for almost 20 years. You're still here. We have wonderful, wonderful representation from the very strong, powerful Darfuri women, Sudanese women, as well as men, and that's absolutely essential to have that unity and inclusivity, for the people of Sudan as well as Darfuri, but wider, because what we're looking at are allegations of Rome Statute crimes that engage all of humanity, and that solidarity internally amongst the DDA, the fantastic work of the numbers of NGOs. Of course, I know some of you have met even His Majesty King Charles. I think Waiting Peace particularly did an awful lot of work, but I see Hoodoo and the Sudanese Community Association, Aegis Trust, Redressed. This is the way to do it, actually. This is an example to all of us of not building turf wars within different NGOs and civil society organizations, but realize all of us have the honor to be servants of something bigger, which is this demand that cannot be lost in the wind of international difficulties, this demand that has to be real justice moving forward. And I think really that's the main message. I'm giving my next report to the Council, to the Security Council, inshallah, at the end of this month. I am engaging with the government of Chad. I am hoping to give it from Chad, because I think that's important. I will go, the plan is that I will go also to the camps on the border, speak to the Darfuri people, particularly that have fled for their lives. I mean, that's what they've done. They've fled. It's not a tourism. What the allegations are extremely profound, and people are lucky in the misery of being refugees again to be alive, and we want to hear those accounts and make sure we can analyse them effectively, and if there's criminal responsibility we will act pursuant to our mandate, not only in relation to the historic cases but in relation to the events of April, since April 2023 till now, and what he's hearing all the time, more and more allegations. So I could go on, that's one of my many faults. I can keep talking, but I think the important thing is to hear from all of you. So if you permit me, Mr. Chairman, I will leave it there, and maybe you can ask if the members that have observations or questions, and when other members of my team come, of course, they can also, if you give them permission, they will also add their perspectives as well to it.